screen is visible to you. So this unit is Unit 3. It's human growth and development. So what do we need to know in this unit is basically start annotating. So it's to give you an understanding of how growth happens and how development happens and how they have an impact on each other. So you will uh, learn about various stages of growth and development uh, throughout the human life cycle. There's either a pass, merit, or a distinction that you can gain here. So a bit about what we're expecting from you. So when we're assessing you, we need you to know the stages of growth and development throughout the human lifespan. So we would want you to describe physical and intellectual, emotional, social development for each of the life stages. Uh, Identify key stages from birth to old age affecting health and well-being, and explain developmental norms and milestones. And to gain a merit, you would want to analyze how each developmental area has an impact on the other. Your second learning outcome here. So learning outcomes are what we expect from you to achieve. Okay. We would want you to understand the potential effects of life factors and events on growth and development. So here you will identify life factors and events which affect growth and development, and to explain potential effects of life factors and events on growth and development of individuals. If you want a distinction here, you would want to evaluate how the nature and the nurture affects human beings in their different phases of physical, intellectual, emotional, and social development. And then we would want you to understand the psychological, and physical and psychological changes of aging. Here you would explain physical and psychological changes that are linked to aging, and explain the lifestyle choices you have that could be linked with aging. Here, you would also want to discuss the effect that physical changes associated with aging, and what's there to do with self-esteem and self-confidence. To gain a distinction, you would want to evaluate the influence lifestyle choices have on aging. So it's more of a critical analysis. And the fourth learning outcome, the last one, is to understand the effect of transitions and significant life events. Here, we would want you to identify transitions and significant life events across the life stages, describe the impact that these transitions and significant events may have on individuals, and explain the role of health and social care practitioner in supporting individuals during transition and significant life events. To gain a merit, you would want to analyze the impact of person-centered approaches. So what are they, and how they support practitioners when they're dealing with um, people around them. So there's a little bit of indicative content that will go through uh, the slides when we do them subsequently. I'll start. So yeah, so I hope my screen is visible. It is to know the stages of human growth and development throughout the lifespan. Okay. I'll just quickly take a screenshot of your attendance if that's okay. Just a minute. Okay. This is just for the attendance. Hello to everyone who've joined. Now. So we're doing Unit 3, the first lesson. Just save this. Let's stop. Okay. So yeah, we'll have a lot of interaction during the session. I would recommend you to ask questions, to answer my questions if you have any. If For me, I'm happy to answer them. So yeah, so this unit, the first part of this unit, it aims to um, develop an understanding of different areas of growth and development and how each development area has an impact on the other. So this will introduce you to the various stages of growth and development that a human being passes through. Can everyone see my screen proper? Yeah, I hope you can see my screen. So the learning
Yes.
outcome, yeah, thank you. Learning outcome for this is the life stages that we'll talk about. So a human being goes through infancy, through childhood, adolescence, early, middle, late adulthood. Okay. So there's physical, intellectual, emotional, and social development. And these have different components. So the physical development comprises of what you do, like you run, you walk. These are all gross motor skills. Okay. Then there are fine skills also. Um, that are more controlled movements, such as writing or sewing, or let's say working on a computer, typing. These are all fine motor skills. So there's different types of changes that occur as a person grows. So there's different types of changes as well, or development that happens. Emotional and social development is bonding and attachment, expressing feelings, following instructions, cooperation, self control, self concept, friendships, peer groups. So, all of these have an impact on our emotional and social development. So, there are several changes that occur from birth to old age. So, we'll go through them. So, obviously, when we're old, we are different compared to when we are young. Um, so the different so there's a nature nurture debate. So there's biological programming that happens, and they affect the experiences. um, so there's an impact that happens because of hereditary. So that impact is there, but then there's changes that happen in us because of experiences as well. Okay, so a person who has a mental health disorder, they might have it as hereditary, or they might have it as an experience. Okay. Then there's maturation theory, life factors, genetics, biological, environmental, economic, socio-economic, lifestyle, and major events. We'll talk a bit about all of them. Developmental norms and milestones. So we have different development happening throughout our life cycle. So a child, when they're born, these milestones are charted so that we know if the child is growing appropriately. Then there are stages of care available to meet health conditions throughout the human lifespans. Young people services, health and healthcare service providers, social care service providers, support service providers, integrated care, disciplinary care, end of life care, and palliative care. This is a small video that I want you to see on your own. Um, I'll just share a link of this with you. You can see it when you have time. Just a minute. Just bear with me for a minute. So I'm just sharing this with you. Just a minute. Okay, so this is the link. You can all have a look at it. I'm sharing it in the chat box. So yeah, just have a look at it when you're free. So I'll go back to the presentation. So the video actually tells you that there are different stages of growth or human development. Um, so this starts from obviously from early years. Um, it starts from when a child is obviously not even born, from right from the womb. So that's when your life starts, and that's where your life is plotted against what is normal. So you make a list of what you could consider the basic periods of development. So you have three of them that are major. So there's childhood, there's adulthood, and there's old age. Sometimes we consider four. So maybe in there's infancy also. So when there's an infant who is less than 1 year old, above that is childhood, there's adolescence and adulthood. Okay. So then there are developmentalists who break the lifespan into several more stages that are prenatal development, infancy and toddlerhood, early childhood, middle childhood, adolescence, early adulthood, middle adulthood, and late adulthood. So there are different ways in which people have categorized growth into. Um, so if we start from describing physical, intellectual, and emotional social development for each life stage of an individual. So it starts when the baby is conceived. So there's an egg and a sperm, new human being is produced out of it. Then there is pregnancy, which it's completed for in around 9 month weeks. Sometimes the baby and the mother go through 3 months that together make 9 months. So it's the embryo and the few fetus that develop physically. And then there's the birth, which happens after 40 weeks of pregnancy. Sometimes it happens early, sometimes it happens late. Then there are late, okay, that will give birth to a child. Then there's infancy, which is actually less than 3 years. It's not 0 to 3 years, it's 1 year. Okay. So there's constant a growth in heighting. Some people prefer to feed their children with breast milk. There's formula meat feeding. Uh, their systems, the respiratory system it develops, the GI tract it develops, the gastric system it develops. Sleeping is most of the time they sleep at odd times, and the older they get, they stay awake for longer, and used to do activity like drawing ball. So all of those are considered. So this is a chart that tells you at what stage does each child correspond to. So it's called pi. So it's physical, intellectual, emotional, and social. For instance, um, if we see the child starts to smile at people, uh, tries to look at the parent, okay, wherever the parent is going. Then there's language development, Okay, then the child makes a cooing or gurgling sounds, turns head towards sounds. Then there's cognitive, that they pay attention to faces. So what I'll do is that if you could take a picture of this, or I'll share a screenshot of this, and because this is a long list, I'll just share this with you. And what I want you to do is just go through this whole chart, and will want you to discuss this shot of this. I'll share it with you. So this is spies. Just have a look at what happens at what stage, and we'll give it a in the group chat. Just have a look at it and save it with yourselves. So it will come to you. Um, so yeah, continues from there on as well. Uh, so in what are the intellectual growth factors? So intellectually, baby should be able to recognize sounds as the brain grows faster. They're able to make variations of sounds because of increased vocabulary. Babies are born with ability to sense objects. They're also born with different range of reflexes such as suckling, which allows them to feed. So these are the responses that a child is born with. Um, and then there are certain actions that are sensory motor. It's when the mind is limited to thinking about sense. So these actions, they happen at different stages. So you would not expect a baby, a newborn baby, to do things that an older age child would do. Okay, so there are different intellectual stages of the child. Then there's emotional. So the primary response, they love, fear, and anger. Okay, this is practically for all human beings, but it is there for babies as well. So the baby develops high, uh, self-esteem and concept of who or he or she is. They undergo the process of healings. So they're what they are, they're getting aware of their environment. They enjoy feeding, cuddling. Uh, they also develop a sense of security and trust. What are social? The very less children antisocial from the age of 6 months around people. They can imitate other people. Questions at times. If you offer them a toy, they like sharing the toys. Okay. And then coming from childhood, 4 to 9 years. Okay. So this is obviously an infant is less than 1 year old. This child is from
Hello, are you there?
Hello,
Hello, are you there?
I'm not sure the tutor is here with us.
Maybe your network is off.
Yeah, I think so. Because I was thinking maybe it's even my own end there. Hey, bros, I'm in a meeting now. Maybe we should wait now. Mm,
Hello. I'm so sorry. This has not happened before. This is all because of the storm outside. Yeah. Um, yeah, I've tried another way to link through uh, for the lecture. Yeah, so sorry again. So we were talking about how emotional and intellectual and other growth happens during childhood. So and there are different ways that we can see that. So different milestones that are seen. So the child's height increases, their muscles and their bones get stronger. Their head is 90% of the adult size, so everything in the child increases compared to when they're an infant. Then there's intellectual. Here, they understand even better. Their development is better. So from age of 3 years, they're recognizing their own sounds, their own voices, the people who name them. They can hear their names and they respond to them. They can talk. They have little words that they use. They can use books, and at the stage of 4 to 5 years, they have their educational experience. Okay. And they can count usually up to 20. They have likes and dislikes. They have different opinions. They have different words, new words. They like listening to music. They like dancing. And then from age 6 and above, the child is able to think more. They have more intellectual growth. They have more understanding of their surrounding environment. They have an understanding of culture, similar things that happen to them around them. They're gaining more skills in their school system as well. And then emotionally, there are different gender roles that they get into. So, girls like to play with doll houses, with teddies. Boys will be playing into football. They'll have their different likes and dislikes. And again, they have different ways to communicate. They laugh when they're happy, they're sad, they cry. Some children can express themselves, some may not express themselves. So there are different ways that a child will have different ways of communication. And then socially, they're very social, as I said, no matter what race, color, uh, their friends are, they very, very social with them. And they like having friends with them, around them. So they're just involved into having fun. That's what childhood is all about. Um, uh, they get into routines, brushing their teeth, washing their faces, and getting into different routines. So I'll just mute you. So, then there's the adolescent phase where there's physical changes that happen. So there are different hormones that come into play. These are mostly by the age of 11 to 13, but it may vary. It may be earlier for some children, late for them, but it's generally from 11 to 13 for girls. And for boys, it is 13 to 15 years. So their body undergoes more changes, which are not seen when they're children. For the girl, the breast size begins to grow. There's increased fat layer under the skin. Different parts of the hair they grow, and the menstrual periods may start happening. And in males, the puberty changes are also seen. So their voice becomes deeper, hoarser. Um, Pubic hair will develop for them also. There'll be increased muscle strength. Penis and testicles start to grow and develop as well. So it's testosterone for boys and estrogen for girls. These hormones are there, which are not there when they're as children. Intellectually and emotionally, adolescents go through a very different phases. Their arguing skills improve, they improve, and reasoning skills improve. They're able to think of what is best for them. They like to set their own goals, and they develop a conscience, and they're able to recognize what is right and wrong. Emotionally, they're in a different process, all of them. So, if the more the more they are nurtured, the more they grow emotional strength. Okay. Their hormonal changes also, obviously, which have an impact on their emotions. But then there's that nurturing also of a child that gives them emotional strength and stability. Socially, again, they have their different friendships that they would want for to go for. So some people are very social, some people go for one or two friends. So it depends upon what type of the person we're talking about. Then going towards adulthood too, which is 19 to 65 years old. Obviously, they become stronger here. But as their age increases, they have more wear and tear going on in their bodies. So the body that was m- more was stronger earlier, now with the advancing age, there's a change in their hearing, their vision, their fats that accumulate. They can't digest their food as quick as they used to. For the women, they go through pregnancy, and then they're very fertile initially, and then later on they go through menopause, which stops their menstruation, and that's another phase of their life, in which there's different other factors that come into play. So there's hot flushes, night sweats, irritability. There's a reduction in sex hormones, which causes a lack of sexual interest in them. Intellectually, they're at their highest condition to hit the peak rate of intellectuality. At this stage, they have a clearer understanding of what is right and wrong. So initially, when they could be influenced, it's hard to influence them now. Their intelligence has also grown really high, and they can interpret things better compared to when they were earlier. Emotionally, again, they can have good and positive relationships, which will create healthy health, which will improve their health and well-being, create more stable, intimate relationships, which every human being requires. Um, and then some people might not have the same emotional attachments with others, with the other sex, because of which they have an impact on different it may have an impact on their health and well-being, on their jobs, and different factors may interplay. Socially, again, because they're more involved into seeking jobs, they're more into um, they have friends, but they're not readily available at that time. There's marriage, there's children, there's a lot more pressure on them socially. Later adulthood is 65 and adult older than these years. So there's physical changes. So at this stage, there's breathing, there's blood circulation, everything goes slower. The bladder, it doesn't work as well. You could there might be leaks here and there. There'll be more wrinkling. They'll be more prone to sicknesses and illnesses at this stage. Intellectually, the brain does not work as fast as it used to. So, as they used to be very active earlier, they might not be. They might have dementia in older ages, because of which they tend to forget things. Then there are emotional changes also. So, elderly people feel the same, feel the need to forget. And they dress in different ways. They now want to catch up more with friends and childhood people. Or many of them have their loved ones who have passed away by now, and this makes obviously life difficult for them. Socially, they want to be more social, but they want to live in peace and more silence. Very few elderly are still active, want to have new experiences, like they want to travel and have leisure activities. So there are different years that have different experiences. And then when we identify some key changes from birth to adulthood, so nature is the pre-wiring. So it's there. It's a large part of our genetics. It's comes with hereditary. It's how our personality is built in. Nurture is the influence of external factors. So conception, product of exposure, life experiences, that these nurture a human being. Okay, so there's different learning environments that they go through, and nurture is the environmental factors that impact who we are. They are childhood experiences, how we are raised, our social relationships, the surrounding culture. Biologically, aging will result in the impact of accumulation of a wide variety of molecular and cellular damage. This will be seen physically and mentally. So you'll see physical and mental capacity will be reduced with time. This is some additional reading that you would want to go through. So these are approaches to psychology. So this is nature, this is hereditary. So as we go away from nature, we'll have more of nurture, where we have more of the environment having a role in our growth and development. So there's psychoanalysis, there's cognitive psychology, humanism. There are um, different theories that have been put in place just to show that uh, there is the hereditary part in growth and development. So you might have a tall child if you have if the father or the mother is tall, but then there are certain environmental factors also that interplay in the growth and development of every human being. Then there explanation of developmental norms and milestones. So these are different milestones that we need to know. So when the child says his first name, when the child identifies certain figures, when a child, obviously, there are different experiences that a child goes through. We've talked about those already. A developmental delay, so it will be a failure of a child to reach a specific milestone, and this will be shown physically and just a minute, I just wanted to, okay, this is recording. Okay. Um, what are development? Why are they important? So we have a chart of them. So we know that what developmental milestone has not been achieved, and then the school or the parents, they're told to work on that. So if a boy child cannot kick properly at that time, when other children do kick a ball, for instance, so uh, they'll create certain interventions that help the child to do those activities. What are the types of developmental milestones? So the during the first years of the child, they're critical milestones. So these milestones, they're not the same for all children, but they just give you an idea. So that just to track a child's abilities. So they're physical, cognitive, social, emotional, and communication and language. So motor skills, and then they develop fine holding a toy, they're rolling over, which occurs by 12 months. Fine motor skills are where they use pens, and then later on, between 12 and 15 months, they use utensils. Between 18 to 24 months, they become more physically active. These are generally noticed in the first year of a child's life. Child may show signs of physical motor delay, developmental delay. Uh, so sometimes children may have injuries also, or they may have an infection that may their body might go limp, or they might not be able to crawl. They might have had a hip dislocation, for instance. They're not able to crawl. This is during birth. So there are different ways a milestone can impact a child, can go better or for worse. Um, So cognitive milestones, these result from exploring their environment and forming conclusions. A child is so by 12 months of age, they'll look at the correct picture. If you ask them to identify, 4-year-old will recite an alphabet. 5-year-old can recite nursery rhymes. Cognitive delays again can happen. They're noticeable around 24 months of age. Signs of these can have maybe probably they might have lack of curiosity, short attention span, difficult thinking logically, difficult understanding rules. A child may show a lack of self-help skills, for instance. Social and emotional. So we have different milestones here. 2-month-old child smiles at their parents. 6-month-old will smile at themselves in the mirror. 4-year-old will enjoy playing with other children rather than alone. And then we have a child who shows social and emotional developmental delays. These can also happen because of their surrounding circumstances. So for a child who a second child, for instance, has better social and emotional milestones because they see their older brothers and sisters doing the same, so they copy them, they mimic them. However, or difficult, they're difficult to lack of nurture within them. Communication and milestones. So some children, they might be delayed in that as well. So children do not speak very well. These milestones can be very visible while they are 12-month-old, in which they start saying the first word. 3 years old can have a full conversation with you. So if they do not, children have their non-verbal body language as well. So non-verbally, it means there's a rooting reflex. There's a 9-month-old. They may nod their head up and down when, which means no. Okay. A child may show signs of communication or language developmental delay. This may happen also because of different reasons. Again, a child who has siblings around may learn faster. How each developmental area has an impact on the other. So there are different ways where different factors can influence each other. There are many examples of these. So, for instance, if the child has a language or playing or talking to, or if you stop talking to a child, they'll have low self-esteem. They'll consider themselves an outsider. There'll be an impact on their social and behavioral development. If a child is overweight and they struggle to be physically active, they may undergo bullying. So this is a physical development that has an impact on their emotional development. So they lose confidence. So there's less of nurturing there. And then there's an impact of physical, social, and intellectual development. So if a child is not able to walk, they may spend the more time learning and will positively affect his intellectual development. This may also leave them confused, not being able to understand why he is different from others, which will impact his emotional, social, and developmental uh, milestones. Um, Other examples are also there. So we have language development. So as I said, if there's a newborn sister or a brother, uh, and if they have older brothers or sisters, they may have different types of development compared to a child who's just one single. Um, Language development. So if the child is being talked to, if the however the child is being talked to, that this is how they learn, they communicate. And intellectual development, again, it will deepen a wide extent to their own experiences, opportunities, and the child will develop thinking skills. Imagination is developed. That is why we ask children to read a lot of books. There's the impact of poverty and deprivation, which has an influence on all of these factors, obviously, unfortunately. So, positive experiences enhance the child's growth in overall growth, while a negative would have negative impacts. These are the references for this session today. I hope everything is clear. Any questions from your side?
Yeah, the question is that this material, is it on our canvas, on our page?
Any questions?
Hello?
Online on lectures are yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you
Hello,
now.
can you? Yeah, yeah. Sorry. So every Monday you'll